Hi, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard101 video. As I always say, it's been a minute since I uploaded my last video, and we're just gonna get straight into the topic that I want to talk about today. It's mainly due to the update that's going to be coming out. By the time this video comes out, I don't know when I'm recording this. Well, I know when I'm recording this, but I don't know when this video is going to come out, and if by the time this video comes out, if test room's already out. But this is from what I know and what is going to be coming in test room, judging by me looking through social media, me asking around, and kind of just figuring out what's going to be about this update. And there's probably more things that are going to be coming out in this update that I don't know about, but I want to talk about the known things that are going to be coming out and my thoughts about those. So if you do enjoy this type of content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that type of stuff, and let's get into it. So the main thing that this update is going to have, in my opinion, right, it's all depending on your perspective of what you think the main thing is. But to me, I think the biggest thing that's going to be coming out in this update, this summer update, is the Azteca raid. And if you guys don't know what raids are basically 12 player dungeons in a sense, where you can go in there for multiple times and you have to have a key. It requires Azoth, the whole concept of guilds. I can go on and on and on about the whole concept of guilds, but if I feel like you should know what guilds are at this point, and if you don't know, you're more than welcome to just look it up. But basically clans. So there's going to be a new dungeon that you can do with your guild, with your clan, and it's going to be Azteca themed. So I have some pros and cons to this. I'm glad that they're doing some type of update to the clan guild system, whatever, right? It hasn't been touched in a minute since it came out back in like what, August, almost been a year at this point. And it's good that they're doing a test run for this and testing out everything, but my main concern is how the gear is going to affect the game. Usually whenever there's new content, there always has to be one piece of gear minimum that is actually worth your time. If, for example, the raid that came out like back in August, the Dragonspire theme raid, if that was not good gear, no one would do it, right? There's no reason to do content if the gear is just terrible. Yeah, you can argue stitch purposes or being like a collector or any of those other statements, but when it comes to like stat wise for PvE, it's not gonna make a difference if the gear is not good. So of course, when we had the whole nullity and everything like that, the gear came out and the max level at the time was 150. So we did use the robe, and certain aspects you did use some of the gear for PvP, but I'm mainly going to be talking from a PvE standpoint. So when it comes to PvE, everyone just used the robe. Yes, there were some instances where you did use the pet, mainly for support builds, aka the death dragon, because it gave you a dark pact. The other ones I didn't see a real reason to run. But then when 160 came out, the main concern is then the gear is just going to be nullified. There's not going to be a reason to use that gear because 160 gear came out. It's probably going to be just power creeping the raid gear. No one's going to do raids. There's a big old argument. But luckily they added the upgrade system where you can upgrade your 150 nullity gear to 160. So the robe still had a purpose and you still were using it in your max PvE builds. And I can go on and on about those builds. You could argue that you use the other builds for supporting builds or whatever, like, but when it comes to like max damage builds, most of the classes, actually all of the classes, use the robe, and I can do that in a separate video, but they all use the robe for max damage builds. So it was good that they upgraded it. So my concern is with this Azteca raid, of course there's going to be new content, people are going to be figuring out the strategies. No one knows, of course, what's happening in that raid at the moment. We just know it's Azteca raid themed. Beyond that, we don't know the mechanics. What is the boss? What's the boss name? Any of that, right? But when it comes to the gear, I'm hoping it doesn't turn into what happened last year, where we have one piece of gear and that's it. Once you get that gear for every school, that's it. You don't need anything else from the raid, and you can just be done. And I'm saying this from a PvE standpoint, not PvP, because I know a lot of PvPers are going to say, well, there's going to be some gear that's going to be useful in certain builds. Yeah, because PvP is a whole complete different game. But for PvE, there's only going to be one piece, and I'm scared that's going to happen again. And if that happens again, we're just going to be on this infinite cycle where there's going to be a raid every year, and there's going to be a world that comes out at the end of the year. And what's going to happen is the raid's going to give you one piece of gear, and then once the new world comes out, there's going to be upgrades for the previous gear, so there'll probably be 170, and then the Azteca gear is going to be 160. So of course they're going to have to add an upgrade system in the guild. You have to farm either certain reagents that you have to get from the new world, and we're just going to be on this endless cycle of just upgrading this one piece of gear, and everything else is just going to be from that new world. Like currently the best builds are just using the nullity robe at 160 and using the rest of your gear on Aeon, and that's just been how it is. There's no reason to switch it out. So whatever the new gear is that's going to come out towards the end of the year for the new world, that's just going to replace Aeon. And then if we get a new robe from the Azteca raid, that's just going to replace the nullity. Then no one's going to do the nullity raid anymore. And at the moment, raids are kind of dry. When it comes to a content creator standpoint, I haven't seen anybody do raids on Twitch. Maybe there's other platforms that people visit, and like YouTube, or now known as Kick as well, that people go over there. So people either go to YouTube, Kick, whatever their platform is, right? I don't really see people stream raids. And there probably is people doing raids, right? Just obviously they're just in Discord groups, or maybe they're just in some other Skype stuff or whatever, right? So there are people probably raiding, right? But I'm saying once this Azteca raid comes out, I'm hoping it's not a robe that is, I guess, meta for PvE. I'm hoping it's either some hat, maybe some boots, wand. I feel like that would be more interesting, because if they just replace the robe, then there's no reason to go farm the Dragonspire raid anymore. So if they make it so it's like a really dominant hat, or like a really dominant boots or wand, people are going to farm for those. And then people are still going to be like, hey, maybe I do want to go do the nullity raid again, because of the fact that I never got the robe. Like for me, I don't care about having all the gear from both of the raids. I just cared about getting the robe on all my characters. Once I got that, I was basically done. And I still have my spreadsheet for the gear. I'm missing some wands, I'm missing some stuff, but I don't really care about them because they're not meta, and another reason is that they're not good. Like I don't really care about collector standpoint. So that's my main issue with the Azteca raid. Other than that, I hope the mechanics are fine. They're not too confusing. Of course, it's going to be test realm. It's going to be glitchy. But a lot of things are going to be expected, and a lot of the devs are going to pray that a lot of content creators do try out the raids and get people together. But the main issue is, if they do that, there's going to be an issue with trying to get people together. I've said this before, 12 people is just way too much for a raid. I'm sorry. It's just tough getting that amount of people. Once the new content comes out, people will do it. Yes, you'll get enough people to do 12, but it's just a switching guilds issue. We're not allowed to switch guilds unless you cheese your way out of it, and you can switch your guild by doing certain ways to workarounds to switch guilds without having the cooldown. But on test room, if you want us to test it out, I'm assuming that cooldown is gonna be gone. If that cooldown is still there, it's gonna be tough testing out the guilds with other people, unless obviously you do cheese. But I'm just saying, if people don't know about it, then for that reason, yeah. So that's my main issue with the Azteca raid. Other than that, I hope everything else goes well, and I hope it's fun. It's gonna be a mess whenever it comes out. A lot of content creators are gonna come back, and I don't know if I'm gonna be there to test out the Azteca raid and stream it or whatever. I know some people want me to, but I got stuff to do IRL. So if I'm not busy the day that it comes out and I'm able to raid with people, I definitely will record it and post some content for you guys, because it kind of sucks. I didn't post any content regarding the whole nullity Dragonspire raid, and I still sitting on the footage, and I don't want to upload it because it's kind of quote-unquote outdated. I mean, you guys might see it in the background, but that's about it. So next topic is the gender and name change. Kind of like a small topic. This has been requested for such a long time, and honestly, there's nothing bad about them introducing that. It's just the way that they introduce it. Of course, that you're going to be limited once per character, so you can't just keep changing your gender and your name multiple times on each character. You're only limited to once. Maybe down the line they might introduce a system where like you could pay for crowns or something like that. But at the moment, from what we know, it's just going to be one gender change per character and one name change per character. Hopefully they make it so like if somebody changes their name or something like that, it has like a parentheses underneath saying like, hey, this was their previous name, so people don't get confused about like, oh, who's this? Why do I have this person on my friends list? Like they don't recognize the name, but then it's because that person changed their name. So maybe they add some type of way of you visually seeing who this person was before they changed their name. Other than that, I have nothing bad about saying about the gender change and name change. Positive, positive, positive. Next topic, the lore spells. To me, I'm glad that they're adding spells, right? It's a summer update. It's good that we're getting spells, of course. And of course, they're going to be spell-lamented spells. Really doubt that they're going to go back to the old ways where it's just you gain the spell and you can't do anything about it. Now they're going to a system where it's like spell elements. If you get a certain amount of spell elements, you can essentially craft a spell, and you can obviously move that spell over between characters if you get enough spell elements. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. If they don't go to that route, I think a lot of people will be mad just because that's the new system that's introduced and we're all kind of intertwined with that new system. So if they switch it up, I'll be really surprised. But with the spells, of course they're going to be in test realm. We're going to be able to test it. Two things about these spells: every time there's new spells coming out, to me it matters is this going to be game changing for PvE? If it's not game changing for PvE, I'm not going to use the spells. Obviously PvP players are hoping that these spells are good, they have some type of gambit behind them, some type of mechanic that can make or break a fight. But when it comes to PvE, you don't really have to think. It's just aura, blade, AoE over and over and over. Unless these spells have some type of like damage multiplier that's like you can combo with, like for example, like if the fire spell has like a hit into a detonate, that would be nice, because if someone does a Scald Incendiate, instead of doing Scald Incendiate, you can do Scald into whatever this hit may be, maybe a hit into a detonate that has like a multiplier. Because I kind of missed out that there was a mechanic in last test room, not this last one that came up, but the one before that, when the Novas came out and we had spell changes, and Raging Bull was different. It had a higher damage multiplier for its detonate. Kind of want to see that come back. I don't know why they removed it and it became a regular detonate. Hopefully we get some type of system like that. I think that would be cool. Then I'll be like, okay, maybe these spells actually have a use in PvE. Maybe there's some type of mechanic we can use on the key bosses, right? If the spells aren't good for key bosses, aren't good for regular PvE content, spells are useless to me. PvP players obviously have a different opinion. Another thing is, there's probably going to be tiers of these spells, and I doubt that there'll be a glowing effect on these spells. They're still really behind on adding those glowy effects on tier 5 spells. I'm still waiting for the Mushu spells to get their tier 5 glowing spells, or glowy effect I mean, on the spells. But like I said, I doubt they'll add it to the Dwyvern spells. So it's kind of cool that they're Dwyvern themed. Dwyvern White Art, I think that's his name. I just know him as Dwyvern. If you don't know who he is, he's a companion that you meet in Chrysalis, and he's usually just chilling with you. He gives you so many buffs. He gives you attack damage buff, he gives you resist. Literally makes Chrysalis easy for a new player. And whenever you don't have him, then you're kind of like, you know, the fights are getting kind of tough if you don't know what to do, of course. So we'll just have to wait to see what spells are going to be coming out. But from what it looks like, we just know it's going to be a storm spell. If they add more for each school, that would be nice. If they add it in between like a quest line, I don't know, but from what it looks like, it's just going to be a pack. It always happens. You already know how it be. And usually when it comes to these spells, people are like, hey, we want a key boss. We're not going to get a key boss for these spells for like a year minimum. think about it when we got the Celestial Spellements. When we got the Celestial Spellements, we didn't get a key boss for a year. And time flew by and we finally got it, right? So same situation applies. You guys aren't gonna get a key boss to farm these spells for a year. If they really, I'll be really surprised if they introduce a key boss in this update for these spells. If they do, that is just amazing, right? A lot of people would be happy. They don't have to wait a year to waste their keys. But like I said, it just comes down to if the spells are good or not. Time will tell. Time will tell. And what the mechanics are. The last thing that I know that is going to be coming into this update is Beast Moon forms. And I saved this for last because there's not much I can say about this. Reason being, I don't play Beast Moon as much as other players do. I used to play it for the reason being is to level up the battle pass. But they introduced something that I didn't think that they would do, that I was asking for such a long time. And it's about time that they added this. And what they added was a tier skip system. Every game that has a battle pass has a tier skip system. Wiz didn't have it, and I made videos regarding this saying that they should have it. It's literally free money. People will buy it because you're forced to do Beast Moon, you're forced to do Decathlon. Some people don't want to do that. They just care about the battle pass. We don't have like daily quests, weekly quests that we can do to level up the battle pass or their scroll fortune, whatever you want to call it, like other games do. So the only other thing you could add that people would buy into is a tier skip system. So now that they have that, I don't really care about Beast Moon. I don't really care about Decathlon. Decathlon, once you get your like 2-pip deck, that's all you need from Decathlon, I'll be honest. Beyond that, there's no reason to do Decathlon. And Beast Moon is just side content that it's like replayable, you know. It doesn't require you to be at like a certain level. You could be a level, I think like what, 20 and do Beast Moon, or 15. You don't have to be a level 160 to be able to Beast Moon, right? So for that reasoning is that's why there's a lot of people playing that, and it's not, there's no like level requirement in a sense where it's like, you know, you got to be a high level, other than having tiered forms and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna go too much into the Beast Moon stuff. But every time there's a new update, we tend to get Beast Moon forms, and it's just a thing that they do, right? Eventually Decathlon will go in update. Don't know when, but we all speculate it'll happen eventually, right? Decathlon is not just going to be the forgotten middle child or whatever you want to call it. They'll eventually get an update, and people will be happy for that. Other than that, that is all I know from what's going to be coming into that update. I kind of gave my points, my opinions. Whenever we get an actual, I guess, patch notes or test realm notes, whatever you want to call it, I'll do a video talking about all that stuff. But this is from what I know that's going to be coming into test realm, essentially, judging by social media and everything like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that type of stuff. More content coming out soon. I do have a lot of stuff lined up. It's just editing is such a hassle and time schedule. So whenever I get the chance, I'll definitely post some videos regarding Wiz, regarding Pirate, some Honkai stuff. I have a lot of stuff that I want to upload, but time will tell, right? So yeah, leave a like, subscribe, all that type of stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.